Hey, we've been 4 weeks in this thing we call Advent Conspiracy, and I put the last summary of the last 3 weeks in your flyer so you can take a look at that. I've been saying to you over and over again, this Advent Conspiracy is us putting together a plan to celebrate Christmas well this year. It's not because, listen, it's not because we're putting together a plan because we think the culture is so evil that we've got to shove away from it so much because of all the bad things going on in the world. That's not what we believe, okay, right? And so Christmas parties in the office, they're good Christmas parties, right? Unless you do bad things at those Christmas parties. And then we talk about that later. But they're good to have parties and be with friends, right? But we conspire because there's too much, right? There's just too much. The level of activity in our culture is so frenzied that we're left at times neglecting the things sometimes that can be the most important to us. So we've been talking about this for 3 weeks. This week, I want to close it out by talking about this idea of loving all. And I want to talk about it in a very simple way. So here's where I want to start. Our guy who runs sound in the back, Josh, everybody knows Josh, he posted something this week on social media. I thought it was the funniest thing I'd seen in a long time. Here's the story, and I'm not telling you it's true, okay, because we know everything on social media is not true, but here's the story as it's told. It may or may not be true. Apparently there's a guy who took a bot, okay? Now, I don't know if this was a legitimate robot or if he just took a program and exposed the program to 1,000 hours of Hallmark movies. No lie, this is what he did. He exposed this bot to 1,000 hours. Think about it, that's probably not hard because they all start, the Christmas movies for Hallmark start the day after Valentine's Day. I don't know if you knew that, but that's when they start. So this is not far-fetched, right? So he exposed this bot, and this bot can then generate a response to this. So what he did is he asked the bot to write a Hallmark Christmas movie after exposing it to 1,000 hours. Now, if you look on the screen, I did bring up a little bit of the script because I thought this was really funny. I can't not show it to you. The title begins like this. It's The Christmas on Christmas. That's the title he came up with. And here's the setting. Small town snow globe refillery. Yes, I didn't know that was a real thing. A snow globe refillery, and as the scene opens, there's a single mother refilling snow globes with, watch this, Christmas juice. She's a widow, and her husband died in every war. I mean, if you haven't read this thing, you got to go get it because it just gets funnier from there. The next scene zooms in, and we hear the single mom, at least in her voice. Here's what she's saying. She says, I refill snow globes better than Jesus Claus. Yeah, think about that for a second. Yet still my twins are dad-free. Why? They need double dad. I don't know what that is. I don't know what that is. Like if she's just saying, the bot is just saying they need like an extra special dad or they need two dads. I don't know what that means, but that's what the bot wrote. Here is the next scene, and this is pivotal because in walks the guy who's going to kind of be the rescuer, the star of the show, right? So here it is. The businessman enters the shop. He wears clothes that cost money. I guess the bot decided it had to say that. His hands are briefcases. This sounds very American, right? And he is, now get, this is it. This is what just threw me over the edge. He is Hallmark hot. Hallmark hot. That bot just told you something. Now, it just told you, as far as the movie goes, it just told you who to watch in the movie, right? It just told you who the important person in the movie is going to be, the person who's going to save the day, rescue this single mom, come to be the person that she needs in her life. It tells you that, right? We get that. You don't have to know anything else, but if you know that Hallmark hot is in this movie, right? This is the guy who's going to save the day, right? This is the guy she's going to fall in love with. This is the guy you're going to root for. But can you step back for just a second? Because that phrase tells me a little bit more. It tells me that we actually are pretty comfortable with ranking people and rating people and looking for, now pardon this phrase, you're going to hear this more this morning than you ever thought you could hear in church. We look for Hallmark hot. We look for Hallmark hot, not just in our relational lives, right? We look for Hallmark hot in all of our lives, and especially with the people. I mean, just think about it. This movie has set up a new standard, even though this is a joke, right? This is to be funny, but we think this way all the time. Like there's the people you meet, they're nice, right? There's the people that you meet and they're attractive. There's the people that you meet, they're hot, and then there's Hallmark hot, right? then there's that next level thing. And that's what's going on. And it's more than just, it's not about sensuality. It's about characteristics and traits and the way this guy's going to love her kids eventually. And so this phrase tells you a lot. And my thing is, I think it tells us that we do the same thing. Hallmark hot guy is going to be the guy that she extends her love to because he's going to meet certain needs in her life. He's going to give her something that she wants. And Hallmark hot guy is going to be that guy for her. Let's shift gears for just a second if we can. I don't know if I can get you to leave that illustration or not. That movie challenges me. That silly setup, that made up little scene challenges me to think about my life on a grander scale, about the way I think about people, the way I rate people when I see them even out on the streets. I went to the outlet mall in Allen Friday afternoon. Don't do it. I have nothing to say about that experience, but I lived. And I catch myself. I told my wife later, I said, I'm walking around this place and I was just scrounging. Like I just wanted to run in and run out. I trying to shopping for a gift. And I had a sweatshirt on and I was kind of, I wasn't, I had a hat on. I wasn't, looking presentable, and everybody there was looking really nice. I don't know what was going on at the mall, but everybody was dressed up except me, and I felt out of place. And I catch myself over and over, and do you do this? Where I see somebody and I start to think about who they might be. And if I'm being really honest, I judge them. Like I start thinking about who that person might be in real life, judged on their appearance. Maybe the way they're talking to somebody else in line, maybe the way they're handling their kids, maybe the way they're talking, their language, their accent. I start to think about people, and I start to rate them, and I start to judge them, and I start to come up with my own little categories like Hallmark hot. And when I do that, I start to decide in advance, before I've ever met the person, I start to decide what role they might play in my life, what I might even play in their life, right? Look, if we're willing to rate people for any reason, we'll rate all people for all reasons. Seriously. If we're willing to rate a person for any reason, we'll rate all people for all reasons, and we'll just do it without even thinking about it, right? Now look, I want to put one caveat on real quick. I understand that we have to evaluate relationships, and sometimes abuse is involved, and that's a whole different category. That's not what I'm talking about today. But I am talking about this innate thing that we have that actually causes, and sometimes if you come from an abusive relationship, what happens? It actually causes you to judge other relationships based on what you experienced here, right? Because of the scars and the wounds. But if we're willing to judge people, rate people for any reason, we'll judge all people for all reasons. And we'll decide where they're going to fit in our life, and we'll decide if they're even worth loving at all, right? We're going to decide where they fit in the story of our life. We're going to decide if we want to extend love to them or not. If we're willing to rate people for any reason, we'll rate all people for all reasons. Why does this matter? Let me talk about it for just a second. First, because we rate people based on how we think other people are rating us. We think we will rate people based on how we believe we are being rated. It's this message that resides in us that people are always judging us, and so we have to judge other people, right? And if we strip it all the way down to the core, if you believe in God, we will often judge other people based on how we think God is judging us. See, that's what we're getting at. This Christmas season, this Christmas message, this idea that God sent his own son to earth over 2,000 years ago and came and walked with us. God left heaven, left eternity, came and walked with us for a very, very specific purpose. We hear it, and it sounds nice, and it looks really good when we get the manger scene set up under the tree, right? And then it becomes nostalgic because we do it every year. But at the core, the story tells us something about how God thinks about us. And if we don't begin to believe in that, if we don't begin to believe in what God really believes about us, if we don't begin to learn how God thinks about us, then we're going to continually judge people for any reason, right? The story of the birth of Jesus is grounded in what God thinks about us. He showed up. He sacrificed his very life. I want you to go. We're going to look at just two verses this morning. 1 John 3:16. This is one that gets quoted so much. In fact, if you've never read the Bible in your whole life, you probably know this verse, right? You've at least heard it somewhere. John 3:16, for God so loved the world that he gave his only son, that whoever believes in him should not perish, but have eternal life. Now, I chose this verse because for me, this is a signature verse. It's the theme of the whole story of the Bible. It's the verse behind Christmas. It's like a Hallmark movie. You get in this verse, you get the outcome. Right? You start watching Hallmark movies, right? My wife and I play this game. Within 5 minutes, we label every character in the movie, right? You know how this thing's going to work out within 5 minutes, right? Because that's what they want you to know. It's a feel-good movie. It's to make you think and feel a certain way. John 3:16 is this verse. It becomes a signature theme for the scriptures. That God actually wants a happy ending for your life. But see, we take that verse and we take that we hear that God wants a happy ending for my life, and we take it in the context of today's world, right? And we start to get mad at God because my life is not working out quite like a Hallmark movie, right? Hallmark Hot hasn't shown up yet. My life is messier than that. Things aren't always working out. It's not as simple. In fact, you can look at my life and you can just label the messes. It's hard to find the Hallmark hot spots, right? I mean, you're gonna see the mess in my life if I'm being brutally honest with you. And we look at that and we start to think God is the problem. Like, where's the happy ending? Do I really believe for God really loved the world? Do we really believe that happy ending? But see, in that verse is this theme. That God's love, God's model for love is marked by giving and not getting. God's model of love is marked by giving, not getting. So in the middle of my everyday life, in the middle of my, Hallmark hot mess of a life, there are going to be things that don't get worked out. There are going to be things that don't work out like it would in a movie. There are going to be things that are going to create pain for me, create struggle for me. There are going to be days that I'm so low, that I'm so upset, that I feel so bad, that it just seems like life isn't worth living. There are those days for all of us. But the unique thing is that God's model, right, the way he loves, is not defined by me getting the Hallmark ending of my life, me getting everything I want in life. It's marked by what he gave me. That sacrifice. And so often we wait for the Hallmark ending to arrive. And then we get mad and it doesn't show up. And so we get mad at God. And then we decide he's not really loving God. And now what do? We start to judge. And we start to rate. And we start to look at people and we start to think, I can't extend love to those people because they're going to take something from me. They're going to hurt me. They're not going to treat me well, right? We start to judge people. They're taking things from my life. They're taking things from my community. They're doing things that I don't like, and I've got to protect myself. And now we go back to rating people. God didn't do that. His model of love is one of giving, and he gives without even asking. In fact, can I take it a step further? God gives knowing. He gives knowing that we're still going to reject his giving. We're still going to reject his gift at times, and yet he gave his gift, the gift of his son. God redefines love in our culture. Now listen to me. He redefines love in our culture. He doesn't redefine love. He's the standard for love. We even know it. People have quoted at you. God is love. When they say it, they mean what they think they mean is that God will give me everything I want, because that's what love is that I get everything I want. But do you see what the model of love is? It's of giving, not getting. So I'm not always going to get what I want. The question of my love for other people is, am I giving in areas that I can? Am I giving in areas where they need? He redefines love. It's not new love, right? It's not new love. Anybody, most of you are not. If you're under 35, you don't know this. Back in the 80s, Coca-Cola decided to do something to spice up the soft drink world. If you don't know this, go back and study it in a marketing class. It was fantastic. They decided it was in April of 85, they were going to do away with Coca-Cola because they had New Coke. In fact, they even labeled it that, New Coke. Like, it just didn't even make sense from a marketing standpoint, but they labeled it New Coke, took the old Coke formula off the shelf, had never changed it for 99 years, decided something needed to change. They needed to supercharge the drink market. So they pulled it off the shelves, stopped making it, and made New Coke. 3 months. 3 months is what it took before Classic Coke came back. Why? Because just making something new doesn't make it better. Listen, this idea of Hallmark Hot has most of us running around all week long trying to get something we think we need, something new, something better for our lives, when God stands there with an age-old story that he's been telling us since the day we came into this world. He's been telling it since the day he created the world. That I'm here for you. That I love you so much that I'll give my son. And now that becomes our model of love. God's model of love is marked by giving, not getting. And that needs to be the model that starts to mark our lives. Now, go to 1 John 3. We're going to jump over, and it's John 3:16. Now we're going to 1 John 3:16. And I want you to look at this one last verse, because this further defines everything. He says, by this we know love, that he, Christ, that he, Jesus, laid down his life for us, and we ought to lay down our lives for the brothers. How do you understand love? How do you define love? Is it that Hallmark Hot thing? Is it that you're looking in your life to just continually get the thing that you think is missing, the thing that you need in your life, the thing that's new, that needs to be there? Is that how you define love? Right? Is love whatever or whoever gets you what you want? John wrote this, and he said, here's how we're going to know love. Who's we? Christians. Here's how people who profess to follow Jesus Christ, who profess to put their faith in God, his plan for our lives, here's what should mark us. Now, I'm not saying that's where you're at this morning, okay? So bear with me, because I get it. We're all over the map in what we believe. And if you've had a really messy life, this is hard to follow sometimes. Right? Because you'd like answers from God on why your life's been such a wreck, right? And there may not be a good answer. There may not be an answer that you like. But here's what John says. If you want to know what real love is, we know, by this we know love, that Jesus laid down his life for us. That's the model that he gave. He gave when we didn't deserve it. He gave when we didn't even know what to ask for. He gave knowing that we would still reject. And he gave. True love, the Jesus model, is a sacrificial love. And it's not sacrificial like this. Jesus didn't come into this world with some kind of little suicidal tendency, okay? I'm not making light of that. I'm just saying Jesus didn't show up and sacrifice his life because he was so depressed he wanted out of this world. He came and he offered something that had to be offered that we couldn't offer, and God decided to supply that need. He gave. So how we express love, think about this for just a second, how you express love, even to the people that are going to be walking around you as you shop for that last minute gift. By the way, tomorrow's Christmas Eve. If you didn't know that, Amazon Prime can't even save you right now. So you're going to have to go to a brick and mortar. But how we show love, even to the people that are going to be, pressing in upon you. If you don't like crowds, You're going to have to brave some tough stuff to get out and shop this afternoon. But how we express love is a reflection, listen, of God's expression of love, of what we understand his expression of love to be. A love based in sacrifice, a love based in giving, not getting. So contrary to what our culture is trying to tell us, love is not a feeling. Love is not a Hallmark hot moment. I wish it was. It would be so much easier to preach because you would buy into it really fast. Because we all want that. Even I want that. There are days when that's what I want. I want that easy way out. Where life is going to work out and I'm going to get the Hallmark ending. And listen, because none of us knows what the ending looks like. And I've been to enough funerals this year to tell you it's the same for all of us. Think for a second. Think back. What was a Christmas gift that you really liked? Maybe as a kid. One of mine as a kid, and this is maybe not politically correct today, but you have to realize I'm over 35. One of mine was a BB gun. That BB gun and I did a lot of things in the backyard, right? Target shooting, going to war, probably broke some windows. I don't know. I don't think I broke any windows. But that BB gun, it was something that I loved. It was something that I loved to take with my friends and play in that world and pretend that you can do when you're young a lot of times. That gift, as much as I remember it fondly and as nostalgic as I can be thinking about that gift, it pales in comparison to what Christ offers. His sacrificial love. But see, I have to fight that, right? I have to fight that belief, that thinking in my head and my heart that the right gift is just going to make everything okay. The right gift is going to make the Hallmark ending. The right gift is going to give me what I really want in this life. I'm going to finally get it, right? And I have to fight that way of thinking. Which even means that I have to fight that thing in me that wants to rate people and rank people and put people into categories and walk around and decide how I'm going to extend love based on how somebody else is treating me. If you get nothing else, here's the end of the series. It culminates with a response from us. God tells us this is what he wants. But we have a hard time getting there. Here it is. Love everyone always, because God has always loved you. Love everyone always, because God has always loved you. Jesus wasn't a second-rate plan. God knew we would reject him. God knew we would put him on the cross. God knew that even today people would still argue about whether that sacrifice, that offering was legitimate or not. God knew people are going to get mad at him and not be happy how their lives are going. He knew we would have questions, and he still gave. Love everyone always, because God has always loved you. Seminary professor I read put it this way. If you love God, it's almost impossible not to love your neighbor, because when you fall in love with God, you start loving what he loves. Love everyone always, because you're starting to discover how much God loves you. That's the message of Christmas. It's the message of Advent. It's the message of everything the church should be about. And maybe you're not even there. Maybe you're still asking the questions, well, I'm not even sure this whole story is really for my life. I'm not even sure that I believe in God at all. And if you are, that's okay. We love questions around here. Here's the thing, though. Let's have the conversation. Because so many times when we're asking questions and we get mad at God because of how my life's turning out, you know what we're ignoring? We're ignoring what God really did for us. And we've been told and taught some things that are not true. Love is not a feeling. You don't get life on your terms if you want to follow God. And so many of us, that's kind of what we've been told. We've been told that the movie's going to turn out good If we just trust Jesus, everything's going to work out. And everybody in here has got a story. I guarantee you, everybody in here this morning, you've got a story, you've got a burden, you've got a pain that reveals that you love God and it didn't work out. Something didn't work out. So if we base how we extend love to our neighbors, right? If we use a system to rate them, we are rejecting that God didn't rate us, that he loved us so much that he sent his son. And that's an unconditional love. And he loves us and has always loved us. So what? So now we can love everybody else. Let me pray for you.